Model Railroad Talk followers, in this episode, we show you our programming track that we built that both functions as a programming track and a test track. So stick around and we'll get the show on the tracks. All right, folks. So we are talking about programming tracks. I know that we had discussed it in one of our audio podcasts several podcasts ago. But most people think, well, yeah, it's just a stick a track with hooked up to the programming of your DCC system. And this is geared mainly for DCC people. But this is a twist. It's not a new idea. It's something that I do. I have it on my main railroad. I've actually got where my engine terminal is going to be, which is a small one. I have the same setup, but this is one I built to show you guys, but also so I had one at my desk here to be able to work on locomotives, or it's portable. So this one actually is a test track / programming track. And I figured I would show you some of the components that I use to build this and how I wired it and stuff like that. So let's move on to that now. All right, so as you can see here, I've got a piece of track that's glued down on a board, okay? Any board will work as long as it's straight and not bowed or nothing. If you do have that, you'll still be able to program, but your track for a test track, you're not going to have flat track, and you're going to have more problems than you are anything. So what I have hooked up here is the Digitrax DCS 52. It's their Zephyr Plus system, I believe it's called. And you can see the basic setup here. I've got my wires going into the DCS 52. I have them run over here into a switch, and then from that switch they go down to the track. It's simple, basic. Soldered the wires to the end here, cleaned it up, soldered it. I'm not looking for, perfection in how it looks. While I did solder it the best I could, I was more concerned about getting a good connection here. Now, this runs up, and many people ask why, or I don't know how to wire that. That looks very complicated, that kind of thing. In reality, it's really easy. What I have here is, I'll turn it up so you can see, is a double pull, double throw, on, off, on switch. So in the middle, it is off. If I flip it one way, it turns it on to the one side, and then I flip it to the middle, it's off, and I go back, it turns it on to the other side, and then middle off. And you can see I've marked it here so I know what side I'm on. So you get down to this, real simple wiring, go from your track to your middle section. So we are going to these two sets right here in the middle. That will be where your track goes. Now, the biggest thing you got to keep in mind is, like, I'm using red and black wire here. So all my reds are on one side, all my blacks are across the bottom here. So your middle one goes down to your track, okay? That's the first and simple thing to do here. Then you have and different DCC systems may be different, but this, I know on the Digitrax systems, they're all the same. So you've got your rail A, rail B, which is in a sense track power, positive, not really negative, but think of it that way. And then you've got program A, program B. So what I basically did was, and these two were what go to your programming track, and they are set up the same way. The biggest thing is you need to make sure your program B and your rail B are the same. It can cause confusion in the system. I've experienced that in the past. So the simplest thing I did was I started with my programming. And of course, as you can see, I marked my wires, so I knew where they were going over here and coming out over here. So I ran my program A and B right here over to this side, which is you know, like we showed you, the red and the black. Track power, same thing. Rail A, rail B, runs over. And as you can see, I tied my wires up good. So this is actually a portable system. So I ran it over to this other side of it. So when I flip the switch to that side, I'm on track power. When I go to the middle, it's off. So I don't have to worry, like if I'm doing something, I flip it to the off position. I don't have to worry about either bumping something when I'm programming, or if I'm in the middle of programming, or B, if I have it on power, if I accidentally bump that throttle, the locomotive doesn't take off on me or anything. Or I can flip it over for program. So real simple. It's a great way to, instead of taking your locomotive and we'll put it on the track. So we'll say we'll go locomotive 1135 on this system. So I'm going to flip it over to program. We're going to go in, CV programmer, direct ops, CV01. I want to do, say I want to reset it. So we're going to go CV number 08, data. I would put in 08. I don't want to reset this one. And this part of it is depending on your system. I would program it. Everything's good to go, right? So then we're going to go back here. And I'm here. So I want to test it out, right? But instead of picking it up and putting it on a track, all I'm going to do is go over to this switch, flip it to the other side, and guess what? I'm going to turn the light on. Oh, let me make sure track power's on. That's first. And look, I can, okay, I don't like how, I don't like how the lights are working. They're, so I don't like that idea. So all I do is come over and flip the switch, go into programming, do my programming. When I'm done, I come back over here, flip the switch, power's still on. I had made my adjustments, and now I can see if what my programming was that was done was exactly how I wanted it. It saves you from the unnecessary movement of moving a locomotive from point A to point B and back and forth. Some things, unfortunately, like if you're doing speed tables and stuff like that, trying to match up locomotives, unfortunately, this little setup is not big enough. That's where you are definitely going to have to move it to your layout to speed match them, and because every locomotive is slightly different. But it's good for if you're programming sound, lights. Say you just installed a new decoder in a locomotive and you want to test it out. And okay, well, I got it in. You don't care about getting it programmed. You just need to test it out. You can put it on here, this little section you can have on your workbench. I like it because I can take it to my workbench if I want. And I can do it right here on my desk. Or if I have a friend call me up and say, hey, I need help programming this, it's not programming, I can take this little system with me. It's real small, it's all portable. And go from point A to point B. Like this particular system, I can unplug this back here so I don't have to worry about wires getting pulled. And this is all in one. So there you have it. So there you have it, folks. A simple but easy programming track that is both function in the programming, but also the testing of the operation of your locomotives. Now, you don't necessarily need to have it on a portable track here. That wiring will work if you're just going to do it on your railroad. Like I have on mine, one of my engine terminal leads, if you will. I have the rails cut. I've got insulator, basically it's styrene in there that I cut the rail, put styrene in, super glued the styrene in. Once it was dry and cured and all that, I went back with files, filed it to the profile of the track, the rail, and then when I painted my track, you can't even see it. And I just know where it's at. Eventually, I'm going to put a some sort of marker there, whether it be a little post or something. But I know that track, if I'm speed matching or anything like that, I can pull my locomotive on there, do what I need to do. When I'm done programming, I flip the switch back to power, and I can pull it off the railroad. So this setup is not just for a portable system or a portable setup. You can, the way I wired this, it would work perfectly well for your railroad. In fact, that's how mine is wired. If you are looking for a portable system, find yourself a small one. Like I said, I'm a Digitrax fan. I happen to have one of these laying around, so I said, you know what? Instead of it sitting there in the box, not doing anything, let's use it for something. So that is my programming track setup. Real simple. You may not be, if you're not good at soldering, see if you can find somebody that can solder for you. It's real simple. I just have them solder little 6-inch bleeds of wire off of each terminal, and then you can wire it up from there. But the biggest thing on this style of switch, where remember, if it's an on-off-on switch, which is basically the reason why they call it is because that's on, off, on. So middle is off, right and left, or up and down, depending on how you have it, is on either side, and the middle is off. They do make different ones. I believe they make them where they're on. So when you buy your switch, you have to look at that, make sure it's an on-off-on, or at least, even if you don't have that middle on, you need at least those to do this. But it's got to be a double pull, double throw switch, where you've got the 2 leads on either side, and you have basically 6 leads on the back there. So that is what is needed to do this. So thank you for watching, and I hope that this helped you out, kind of solved a little bit of wiring problems for some people as far as programming wiring a programming track, and for both programming and testing. So thanks for watching, and keep your train on the tracks.